Hello and welcome back to Gardening with Ben. Welcome to our new episode for today. I hope you're enjoying all the podcasts that we're putting out there. If you've not subscribed to our channel, make sure you click the subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, what get launched, and feel free to follow us on all our social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube and Instagram, Gardening with Ben. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a review as well, as it's always good to see who's listening and what you think of the podcast. Let's start today's episode. So welcome to today's episode. Today's episode is another bonus episode, so you're getting treated a lot this week. So today's episode is going to be about what plants and seeds you can plant in February. Yesterday we talked about what jobs needed doing in the allotment and garden, so if you've not listened to that, go back and have a listen to it. So today's episode is going to be about what we can start sowing this month. Obviously it's extremely cold at the moment. It certainly is where I am, and we've got snow around and frost and all that. So ideally you will need a heated greenhouse, or if not you'll need to grow them indoors, but they will need to be grown somewhere that gets a lot of natural light, or you may risk getting the plants leggy and you'll have to scrap them and start again from scratch, so obviously you'll be wasting money doing that. I don't tend to start a lot of my seeds off until March, April time, as they do catch up, a lot of them, but some of them we do have to start early as they need as long a growing time as possible. So the things that we can grow this month, we're going to be looking at what vegetables you can grow, what fruit to plant, and what flowers and herbs to plant this month. So first we're going to be looking at what vegetables we can plant in the garden. So first up, you can start sowing your aubergines. Aubergines need a lot of growing time so that you get a good crop in the summer. So ideally you do need to actually start these off this month or last month if possible. So you need to start those seeds off somewhere warm so that they'll germinate and get started. Next up, you can start to sow your beetroot if it's warm enough in your greenhouse. Again, like I said, I don't start mine until March, April time. Broad beans, you can plant hardy ones out this month. You can either plant them in the ground, or you can plant them in troughs and get them growing. You need to start the hardy ones this month, the ones that can cope with the cold weather. Did you know that it takes all year for the Brussels sprouts to actually grow? It's one of the longest growing vegetables that takes time. So you need to start these off this month or next month and get them germinated and started. I'm even looking at growing purple Brussels sprouts this year. Whether they'll taste any better, we do not know. So let me know if they do actually taste any better. You can start to grow your summer variety cabbages this month. Also your carrots, your cauliflower. Ideally you need to be starting your celery off this month. Like I said, it should be in a heated greenhouse if possible. If not, just wait until it gets a bit warmer to start those off. You can start your garlic off if you've not started your garlic off. I've used shop bought garlic this year, as I didn't get a chance to get any from the wholesalers before they sold out, so I've tried shop bought ones this year and they have actually started shooting up through the ground, so I'm really pleased about that. Jerusalem artichoke can be planted. The tubers can be planted in the ground this month. That's if you can actually dig into the ground. Leeks, if you're wanting some nice big leeks this year, you need to be starting those preferably this month. Peas, if you're wanting an early crop of peas, now is the time to start growing them under cover in pots. Just make sure you remember to protect them from the mice and the rats, as they will dig up all the peas and eat them all. Potatoes, if you've not started chitting your potatoes yet, now is the perfect time to be doing those. You can save up your egg boxes and place the potatoes in these with the eyes facing upwards so that they chit upwards and they will be ready to plant in the end of March, April time. Radish, these are one of the fastest growing vegetables. You can sow these at regular intervals to get crops throughout all the year. Shallots, as well as sowing garlic outdoors, you can start sowing your shallots out this month, and you can either plant them straight into the ground, or you can start them off in a greenhouse in pots and then plant them out when they've started getting the shoots. Just remember to protect them from birds eating the tips off them, as they do like to eat the new growth, and you don't want them to do that. Tomatoes. The earlier you sow your tomatoes, the longer year you will have to grow them and get more crops. So if you can start them this month, try and start them. Again, like I said, I don't start them until March, April time, so I don't have as long a growing season, but I still get great crops, so that's ideally up to you. Peppers and chilies, again, these are like your tomatoes and your aubergine. The earlier you plant them, the better crops you will get from them. So if you can start them off now for a great crop throughout the summer period. Next up, we are going to look at herbs. So if you're wanting to start some herbs off, you can start these off on a kitchen windowsill and get those growing. You can either grow them in your pots or plant them outside once they are ready for planting out. Next up, we're going to look at what fruit can be planted this month. This month is now a great time to be planting your currant bushes, either black currants, red currants, white currants. They may not produce much fruit in the first few years, so just be patient. Make sure you water them well in the first year so that they get the roots established and get growing. You can be planting your blackberry canes and raspberry canes this month. Make sure you think about where you are actually going to grow them, as these are ideal to grow down the sides of the plots so that you can train them and they don't take over in the middle sections of your plots. Fruit trees. This month you can plant your fruit trees. Make sure that if you're purchasing these, that they do look like they are healthy. Make sure in the first year you do water them well so that they do take root and get established. Again, these may not necessarily produce fruit in the first year, so be patient and hopefully they will take root. Gooseberries. Gooseberries can be planted again this month like your currant bushes. If you're not keen on the sour ones, which are the green ones, try planting some red ones, as these are sweeter and they do actually taste really nice. I've grown red gooseberries in the past. Rhubarb. If you're wanting to plant rhubarb, get yourself a rhubarb crown and get growing one of those. Growing rhubarb from seed is actually really easy. I've done that before. I'm going to do it again this year to show people how easy it is. Obviously you won't be picking rhubarb from it for the first couple of years, so just be patient and start some rhubarb seeds off. Obviously that'll be a lot cheaper than purchasing rhubarb crowns, and you'll get more plants for the cost what you'll get from the seeds. If you've not planted any strawberry plants yet, now is a good time to start planting those. Replace any plants that are older than 3 years, as they don't produce as many crops as they would do. So replace any old plants and any plants that look like they have died off. So last but not least, we're going to look at what flowers can be planted this month for great blooms through the summer. So now is the time to be waking up your begonia tubers. The way that you can wake them up is by putting them in pots of compost. Make sure you've done it at a minimum temperature of 10 degrees, and that will wake them up ready for this year. Chrysanthemums. These are ones that you will see in shows. If you're wanting great blooms in your garden and allotment, start sowing your chrysanthemum seeds this month. Dahlias. These can be started to sow this month. Last year I grew some fantastic dahlias. They looked absolutely beautiful on my plot, and again I'm going to be growing some from seed this year. You don't have to grow them from the tubers, you can purchase the seeds and they will do as well as the tubers. Again, last year I grew some geraniums. Really pleased with how well they grew, and fingers crossed they are still alive. I've taken some cuttings from them and going to be planting them out this year. Also, I'm going to be starting some more off again from seed this month and get them growing, as I was really pleased with how well they actually grew. Lilies. You can sow your lily bulbs this month. Just be careful that they will attract lily beetles. Obviously, they will produce fantastic flowers and great fragrance, and also you can cut them and put them in the house to enjoy as well as being outside. Roses. You can start to plant your bare rooted roses this month in the garden for great displays. I've seen quite a few rose plants on sale in my local supermarket in the Tesco's, so if you're wanting some roses, go out and purchase some this month, and when the ground's not as hard as probably what it is or covered in snow like it is at the moment, get those planted and make sure they're kept watered so that they take root and grow well in the garden. I've got 8 plants this year. I've never grown roses before, so I'm looking forward to getting those great displays in my plot. Sweet peas. You'll have seen from videos what I've shared on YouTube. If you've not, check them out. I've started sowing my sweet peas. I'm going to continue sowing them to get great displays on my plot. The sweet peas was one of the best things that I grew on my allotment last year. The displays, the flowers, the cuttings that I kept taking off of them. Every single day I was picking them. So try growing sweet peas, and I've shared that video on my YouTube, and it's a really easy way to get them to germinate and get great displays from them. So that has been what you can sow this month in February. Thank you for listening to today's podcast. I hope that you have enjoyed it. Make sure you do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, which get launched on a daily basis at the moment. And feel free to follow us on our social medias, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube, Gardening with Ben. Obviously on YouTube you get to see all the videos as well, which we launch regularly. And if you'd like to support Gardening with Ben, check out the link below in the description from our shop, where you can purchase fantastic gardening hoodies and t-shirts. You can also buy a Gardening with Ben mug to be drinking your own brew out of while listening to this podcast. And we've launched recently a fantastic range of greeting cards which can be used for any occasion, and also for letters to send to family and friends. So thanks for listening, and as always, remember, keep gardening.